Donald Trump is mentally unwell. We have known this for a long time. It felt like at the end of his campaign, we were talking about this daily, that he is clearly deteriorating mentally. And the mainstream media wants to say nothing of it, even when we have moments like we had today, in which in the middle of his speech announcing the beginning of the stupidest trade war in history, he just walked off stage. And the crowd sat there quietly as the emperor had no clothes and waited to applaud him when, actually, we'll see what happens in just a little bit. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, like I said, Donald Trump was giving his Liberation Day tariff speech, and the markets are already crashing, but it was bad before that even happened, as we can see right here.
Let that happen. We truly can be very wealthy. We can be so much wealthier than any country. It's not even believable, but we're getting smart. Nearly a century later, in the face of unrelenting economic warfare, the United States can no longer continue with a policy of unilateral economic surrender. We cannot pay the deficits of Canada, Mexico, and so many other countries. We used to do it. We can't do it anymore. We take care of countries all over the world. We pay for their military. We pay for everything they have to pay, and then when you want to cut back a little bit, they get upset that you're not taking care of them any longer. But we have to take care of our people, and we're going to take care of our people first, and I'm sorry.
He just sounds stupid. Tariffs are Donald Trump's obsession because it is something he can say without having to understand and without having to care about the consequences. Because Donald Trump doesn't. He doesn't care if the market tanks. He doesn't care if he devalues the dollar. He doesn't care if you pay more for your car, for your gas, for your groceries, for your rent, for your house. Donald Trump does not care. As long as he can pretend to be a big tough guy, as long as he can be a bully to hide all of those insecurities inside of him, he is totally fine. Totally fine embarrassing himself and looking stupid, by the way, which is exactly what happened when he tried to read his chart of tariffs. Take a look.
Big charts because it had no chance of standing. Fortunately, we came armed with a little smaller chart. So it's 67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? They will be, because we never charged anybody anything. But now we're going to charge. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. You know, you think of European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to see. It's so pathetic. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half.
What a perfect visual of our country at this point in time. A man who can barely read, struggling to get through the biggest chart they could possibly make for the tiniest little president we've ever had. So he can read how big and tough he is with his numbers that he doesn't understand, numbers he doesn't understand the damage they'll do. I think if you really want to make it clear, you can show him a graph instead of that chart, but a graph of the stock market doing that, going like that, right at the beginning of his speech and continuing to tank as it went on, as he droned on, as he just blabbered like the idiot that he is. And take a listen to this nonsense right here.
Never seen anything like that. With today's actions, we're also standing up for our great farmers and ranchers who are brutalized by nations all over the world. It's brutalized. Canada, by the way, imposes a 250 to 300% tariff on many of our dairy products. They do the first can of milk. They do the first little carton of milk at a very low price, but after that it gets bad, and then it gets...
So Donald Trump has been talking a lot about farmers and manufacturers, and I want to speak more to this later in the video. Of course, I want to see this shocking moment of Donald Trump just walking away. It was just terrifying to see how he is up there. But he's been talking a lot about farmers, and he's been talking a lot about manufacturing. Two things that he has attacked in every aspect of the beginning of his presidency. Cuts to USAID, money spent buying produce, buying farm goods in America to ship around the world to make sure people don't starve and die. Yeah, that doesn't help farmers. And his attacks on green energy doesn't help the green energy manufacturing that boomed under the Biden presidency. So this is just a complete farce, a complete lie from Donald Trump. But what else should we expect from the guy who sounds like this?
Then in 1913, for reasons unknown to mankind, they established the income tax so that citizens, rather than foreign countries, would start paying the money necessary to run our government. Then in 1929, it all came to a very abrupt end with the Great Depression, and it would have never happened if they had stayed with the tariff policy. It would have been a much different story. They tried to bring back tariffs to save our country.
It's just painful at this point how stupid he is. It's just painful. And it's so blatantly obvious. I am furious that the mainstream media refuses to give this any attention, especially when Donald Trump clearly doesn't have it. And this moment we're about to check out, if this was Joe Biden, they would have been losing their minds. Just take a look.
Donald, we have two documents prepared for the president's signature today. One closes what's referred to as the de minimis loophole.
So Donald Trump finishes a speech about the executive orders he's going to sign on his tariffs, right? He's got the executive orders sitting right next to him. He's got his big chart and the table right next to him. It's why all those people are there. He's got his executive orders. This has been done a million times in the Rose Garden. What does Donald Trump do? He finishes his speech. He walks away because he can't remember why he's there. All he knows is that he likes to get up in front of his crowd. He likes to complain. He likes to whine. He likes to shout about tariffs, but he doesn't understand anything else. He had to be guided back up onto the stage. I'm surprised someone didn't have to hold his hand while he signed them. Donald Trump talks all the time about auto pen, but what about auto getting you to the location in which you're signing your dumb executive orders? This is absolutely insane. The guy doesn't know where he is in space. This is not someone on his best day 20, 30, 40 years ago who was bright enough to hold this office. But now it is a national security threat. We already see the dumbest administration, and I'm sorry, I just have to use that word. It's as blunt and as real as we can get. They're just dumb in history, with more reporting about Mike Waltz using, 20 plus Signal group chats to share government secrets on unsecure servers. This is absurdity every day. We have people who are compromised just based on their own ignorance, and we have Donald Trump who would have been compromised from the start. But now with his deteriorating brain, it gets worse every single day. And you have these people taking advantage of him in the White House. We think Elon Musk is the only co-president, the only shadow president. Steve Miller is as well. I guarantee you that much. That is scary, especially when we know what these guys want to do and who they don't care about. And I talked about farmers earlier. Someone who ripped Donald Trump to shreds on this argument he's trying to make about supporting farmers, a complete farce, was Jim McGovern in this clip right here.
Mr. Chairman, the state of the rural economy in this country is declining by the minute. Because Donald Trump has decided to let Elon Musk put billionaires first and America last. I mean, come on. Tariffs against our closest allies and ag trading partners, gutting science programs while bird flu rips through poultry and livestock, freezing money that has been promised to farmers for ongoing projects. Do my colleagues really think these are good for rural America? Trying to illegally purge the career staff at USDA, who we all know try to help rural communities, demagoguing programs that provide a legal immigrant workforce for our farmers, destroying global food aid programs that our farmers rely on every day to sell what they grow and produce. These things are not America first. These are policies of people who do not care about rural America at all. So let me just say this as clearly as I can, Mr. Chairman. The rural economy of this country is in big trouble unless things change. Now let me make this as simple as I can for people. USAID purchases $2 billion, that's billion with a B, worth of U.S. commodities every year. Grown by who? Grown by American farmers. That's soybeans, rice, wheat, sorghum, the vast majority of which are grown not in my district, but in your districts, in red states, in many of your districts. And then some weirdo named Elon, who's probably never set foot on a farm in his life, just decided to end it all, to eliminate entire markets for our commodity growers while prices are already low. And spare me the rebuttal of, quote, food aid was exempted from Elon's shutdown. That's BS. We are hearing from people on the front lines that is BS. Even the USAID Office of the Inspector General just said yesterday, and I quote, uncertainty about the scope of foreign assistance waivers and permissible communications with implementers has degraded USAID's ability to distribute and safeguard taxpayer-funded humanitarian assistance, end quote. So more than 475,000 metric tons of American food commodities valued at $450 million that were scheduled or in transit are now at risk of being wasted. And more than 29,000 metric tons of food commodities valued at $39 million are sitting on the floor of USAID warehouses in Houston. And I'm hearing reports that the so-called waiver of food aid is not helpful because these waivers are impossible to obtain. The freeze is already having dramatic consequences on rural communities. Companies that buy massive amounts of soy and peanuts to treat childhood malnutrition are shutting down. And these shutdowns are going to hit rural America like a ton of bricks. So I'm just saying to my Republican colleagues, is this what America first means to you? Sticking it to your own farmers by ripping the rug out from under them? Great job. I'm sure you'll go on TV talking about how great Trump is while he totally screws over the people we represent. So with that, I have a question for Mr. Weinzierl that I hope you can answer quickly. A simple yes or no is fine. If USAID is successfully dismantled and stops buying commodities for global food aid at over $2 billion, would that have a ripple effect on the farm economy, and do you think it would create uncertainty for our farmers?
I am not an expert in this area. There are a couple programs in USAID that I do see of value, which you mentioned. One, the commodities, soy, and there's actually a corn-soy mix. I don't know if the amount there would be effective of the price,
Right.
but I think that's important.
Right, but I mean, common sense tells you if $2 billion is taken off the table, which is used to purchase farm commodities. Who makes up that market? Let me just say one other thing, Mr. Chairman. We have 47 million people who are hungry in this country. And I had hoped that America First meant that we're going to try to feed them. And I guess I was wrong, because I hear that the Republican leadership is still pursuing $150 billion in cuts to SNAP.
If you are someone who watches this show frequently, you always know that we are going to play some Jim McGovern, because he's just so spot on. Donald Trump does not care about the insecurity, the instability, just the chaos and the concern that he's creating in every market. Let's go back to the stock market. It is tanking. And what did we see Fox say the other day? They said, who was it? I can't even remember. They've all blended together in my mind. But Fox, their line was something along the lines of, in wartime, people came together. They dealt with a little economic hardship. They would build bombs in their house. This is coming from the same people who screamed and cried when we asked them politely to just throw on a mask if they were going to be walking around so people didn't die. That was the greatest infringement of their rights. But people have to lose their whole 401k, their retirement savings, because Donald Trump is an idiot who wants to wage a trade war. Get out of here with that BS. We're not taking it. We're calling it out on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to check out my interview with Cory Booker, I highly suggest you do. It's going to be one of these two places. I hope you take a look. And until next time, I'll see you soon.